How's everybody doing? My name is Mike and this is Miss Sky, and we're going to go ahead and work on her getting into her crate today. Now whenever I use a command for the dog with the crate, I typically will tell them to go in their den. So I'll say the word den. The reason I say that is I want my clients to think of these crates as their den, because that's really what it represents. You know, when the other members go away, when the dogs are young, the puppies will stay in the den. They're not allowed to come out, and there's certain reasons for that. It's you know, predators can get them, and so when they're in the den, it's typical for them not to urinate or defecate in the place that they sleep. So that's like an actual natural thing for the dog, and that's why we use a crate to actually potty train the dog. She is potty trained, but the owner could not get her in the crate when he needed to. So that's why we keep a dog in the crate anytime we leave or at night. Even when we're home, I'll just be hanging out with her and be like, hey, it's a good time to just go put her in a crate and just let her sit there for an hour, just because I want her to see it not as a bad thing or not as me just leaving. You know, because if you put the dog in the crate every time you leave, they're going to start to think the crate means you're just leaving. So we want the crate to actually mean something good, and a way to do that is to do a routine with her. So normally we have a routine for the dog. That's kind of what you see me doing when I'm telling her to sit over and over, lay down, place, all those things. We're doing these things so she will be good at it. And they also get desensitized to it, just like the crate. She's going to get desensitized to the crate by going in it different times and then being allowed to come out. Typically, I like the wire crates that has a door in the front and it also has a door right here, so I can open them both and let a dog like her, I would let go through the crate so she can just see it as an obstacle. It just becomes a fun thing for them. But she can also do it with this. It just takes a little more time to get her used to it. So anytime we do this, we use a leash with the dog. If you're trying to get your dog, if you're trying to do anything with your dog and your dog's not trained, you need to use a leash. This allows you access to the dog and be able to guide the dog where you would like her to go. You know, so this is a tool for me. So if I tell her, okay, heel, then I use my hand, I put it right in. Good. Good then. See how she was a little bit hesitant to go in? Then, so if she comes out, it's the same thing. I'm just going to say no, correction, then direction. Good girl, good then. Okay. Good girl. So you see how I let her go in and then I let her out so she doesn't feel like, oh, every time I go in here, I'm trapped in here. She just sees it as she's doing something good for me. Hey girl, then. Good girl, then. So you see her fight a little bit, and that's okay. That just gives me an opportunity. Then, that just gives me an opportunity to work with her and show her it's not a bad thing, but you do have to go in the den when I ask you to. You know, that is something all dogs need to know, and if they're not wanting to do that, that just means this represents something not good to them. So the only way to see it in a different light is to work with them on it. Okay. Good job, girl. Heel. So now, I would just work with her a little bit. So if you see how she kind of hesitated more the second time, so what I want to do is mix it up for her at this point. Sit. Good girl. Good sit. Heel. Sit. Good. Sit. Good girl. Good sit. And a girl. So now I'm mixing it up for her so she doesn't feel like, oh, he's just making me go in there over and over again. Place. And a girl. Place. Good girl. Come. Good girl. Good girl. Good job. Heel. Then. Alright, so you see how she's resisting a little bit? That doesn't stop the process. You still have to lead them in there. So, and what I'm doing is I'm not dragging her in. I'm not strong enough to drag her in with my left hand. You know, she's probably 60 pounds, and dogs are very strong. So what I'm doing is I'm putting pressure, and then as she goes, I'm loosening the pressure up. Okay, heel, sit, good girl, heel, sit, no, sit. So the reason I did that is I want to practice. If you see she was hesitating before to come close to the crate or go in the crate, I want to bring her up to the crate a few times. Heel. Sit. Good. Heel. No. Heel. Sit. And see, there's no reason for her to resist right now because I'm not even trying to make her go in. So you see where the dog's head is. We have to recognize that. We have to work with her. You never want to give in to the dog resisting. That's what she did at the owner's house just when we had the leash outside and trying to bring her inside. She was fighting the leash and she would try to slip her collar. Okay, then. So you see much less pressure that time. Much less pressure. Okay. Good girl. Heel. Sit. Girl, down. Atta girl. Good down. Good job. She's a very submissive dog, and she's pretty sensitive. She doesn't need a lot of correction. She can take a very light correction and learn the lesson. Okay, girl. Heel. Heel. Sit. Sit. So she actually was going to go in on her own, but I just want to bring her up to it and see that you can go up to it. You're not going in every single time. Heel. Good job, girl. Sit. Good girl. Sit. And if I didn't mention too, sit, girl. If I didn't mention, my dog is also right back here on play, so she's also doing all this with another dog in her presence. Heel. And then. So you see, no pressure that time. No pressure. So, a lot of people may not like the way that looks when I'm leading her in. Good den, girl. Good girl. They may not like the way that looks the first few times, but it is necessary to communicate to the dog what I want. You would never want to use a treat to get the dog in the crate. You want them to go in not for a treat, but because you're telling them to. You want them to listen to you as the owner. If you have a 60-pound dog, you need to have control over that dog. And in her home, she was wrecking everything in the home. All around the home, I could see areas where she had destroyed. So the crate is very necessary for her to be safe in the home. She could ingest something that could actually hurt her. So this is very necessary for her. Okay, good girl. Place. Good job, girl. Come. Atta girl. Sit. Good girl. Down. Atta girl. That's my girl. Good job, girl. Atta girl. Come on, heel. Good job. Good girl. Heel. In. So at that time, there's a little resistance, not much at all. Just a little pressure at that moment, and then the rest of it is hers. So this is not something, then. So, no, then. So I never say stay to the dog. With any of these commands, we don't say stay, we repeat the command. If I tell her to stay, that means that there's a second part to den, right? So the stay is implied with all of these commands. When I say something to the dog, if I say den, and then I have to say stay, that means she was breaking the den command. So this is why we repeat command. Good girl. Come. That girl. Good job. Good girl. Sit. That a girl. Good sit. Heel. Sit. So I actually let her lay down last time. Down. Atta girl. I let her lay down because I'm actually working on that with her. The first couple times to get a dog to lay down, if they don't know what you mean, you have to sit there and hold the pressure. Just like we're doing on here, you just hold the pressure and wait for them to make that choice. So laying down is like more submission than sitting. So if I tell her to sit, laying down, she's halfway to laying down. Laying down would be the more submissive position. So I actually always want to encourage a dog, if they want to lay down for me. But we could keep her in sit, but right now, for the purpose of her learning down, this is what I want her to do. Heel. Good girl. Den. Atta girl. That's my girl. Good job. Good girl. Yeah, girl. Good job. Okay. Good job, girl. So she did really good with that. We're going to end the session there. Now, with any dog, you end every training session with a positive note. So, in the beginning, it was a little harder for me to get her in the crate, and now you see that she's going in on her own. A few times she's went in on her own. So this is a huge success for her, and we want her to feel proud about it. That's why we're positively reinforcing everything that she's doing with my praise. And that's why we don't give any unearned affection. She has to earn everything from me. Example, sit. No, sit. So she didn't do it, no correction and direction. Heel. But she gets another opportunity. Sit. Good girl. So if she does what I want, she gets positive reinforcement. Atta girl. In the form of affection. Good girl. Place. So if your dog's bad at something, what you need to do is actually practice that with them. And, we want to guide them. We don't physically force them to do anything, because the truth is, if you force a dog to do something, they are going to be scared of you. They're not going to respect you. You got to do it in a way that they trust, understand, and respect. And we do use a physical correction to teach the dog what we want.